Good morning, class. Welcome to our new schedule. I'm pretty sure you're gonna do your work as it comes. In the Google Classroom, there is a new schedule posted for y'all. So Monday, then Wednesday, then Tuesday, then Thursday will be taught accordingly. Videos will still be posted on Mondays and Wednesdays as well. Today, what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be continuing completing the square. Now we're gonna be working on completing the square where my A value is not 1. So numbers that have an absolute value that are not 1, right? So the first thing that we want to make sure that we're doing when we're trying to turn these quadratics into vertex form, that's our ultimate goal, is to get it in vertex form. The first thing we need to do, right, step 1, we need to write it in standard form. We want to make sure that our quadratic is in standard form. So that would be step 1. Step 2 is we want to factor out our A. Because remember, before we were working on these when my A value is 1. Now we're working on this where my A value is not 1. So the first thing we want to do is, after we put it in standard form, what we want to do is we want to factor out our A. All right. Then the third thing we want to do, we want to complete the square and form our perfect square trinomial. All right. So first, put it in standard form. Second, right, we want to factor out the A. Then third, we want to put it in a perfect square trinomial. That's by completing the square, right? After we get our perfect square trinomial, what we want to do is we want to write our trinomial as a binomial. So remember, tri, right? That means we have 3 terms. Right, here we'll have 2 terms. So we want to write our perfect square trinomial as a binomial. And then lastly, after we get it like that, we can go ahead and do step 5, which is write it in vertex form. All right, so remember, step 1 first is write it in standard form. All right, step 2, we want to factor out our A. Step 3, we want to form a perfect square trinomial. That'll be something that has 3 terms. That's when we complete our square, right? Then we want to write the trinomial as a binomial, right? So that perfect square trinomial we'll write it down in factored form, right, as a binomial. And then we'll take that and write it in vertex form. We should have got that practice from Monday, right? We'll be doing basically the exact same thing. The only difference is instead of 1, A being 1, A is going to be a value that is absolute value that's greater than 1. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys zoom in, copy down these 5 steps. I zoom in for you to pause. All right, zoom in for you to pause. All right, so our first example that we'll have here, we'll work on h of x would be 3x squared minus 12x. All right, 3x squared minus 12x. Now notice we don't have a c right here. That's okay. We're going to work on something that has constants later. Right now we just want to get the basic understanding of how to use completing the square to get this to vertex form, right? So it's already in standard form. Step 1 tells me writing in standard form is already in standard form. If you're not familiar what standard form looks like, that'll be ax squared plus bx plus c, right? My powers are in descending order, so we already have it in standard form. Now we want to factor out our A, right? Our A is our leading coefficient when it's in standard form. So our A here is 3, right? So what do we want to do? We want to factor that out. So that means I'm going to divide 3 from here. I'm going to divide 3 from here. We're going to write it in 3 on the outside x squared. 12 divided by 3 gives me a 4, right? And we want to leave a little bit of space here, right? Because we're going to use this to complete the square. All right, we're going to use this to complete the square. Right, so remember yesterday, well, on Monday, in Monday's video, completing the square, we take our B term, right? We're not concerned with this 3 just yet, right? We're not concerned with this 3 just yet, right? I'm going to show you how we're going to be using that 3. Right now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking half of B, right? My B is -4, right? We're going to take half of B and square that value, right? That gives me -2 squared, which gives me a +4. So here, I have 3 times x squared minus 4x plus 4. Now, remember, I can't just come here and plug in a 4 and just add numbers, right? I can't just add random numbers to my problem. That changes my entire problem, right? So I have a 4 over here. I need to make it equivalent, right? So how do I make it equivalent? Well, on the outside, I don't put a 4 because remember, everything in here is being multiplied by 3. So essentially, I've added 3 times 4. So if I've added that on the inside, that's what I need to multiply. I mean, that's what I need to subtract on the outside. That way, it's equivalent to what it originally was, right? Originally, we just had 3x squared minus 12x. Now, if I factored out my 3 here, right, and you put 4 on the inside, well, if I refactor the 3, if I distribute the 3, I get a +12. So on the outside, and I get a -12. Right? So then my next step would be to write my trinomial as a binomial. So rewrite this as a binomial, which gives me x minus 2 squared. And then on the outside, we have a -12. We have a -12. Right? And now it's in vertex form. All right, now we have it in vertex form where my A value is 3, my H value is 2, and my K value is -12, which will allow us to know characteristics of my parabola without graphing my parabola. Right? So what do I know, right? Well, I know that my vertex is 2, -12. Right? I know my axis of symmetry, which is always going to be my x value for my vertex is x equals 2. And I also know that I have a stretch by a factor of 3. And it opens upward. Right, my vertex is my minimum. Right, those are all the things I know just by getting it to vertex form. That's everything that I found out about this. All right, so what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to take the time to copy this down. It's okay if you can't copy it all down. Of course, I'm finna do another example. I'm about to do actually a few more examples. All right, to make sure that we get cleared up on this. So go ahead and pause your screen, copy that down. All right, my next example. All right, first thing, step 1, make sure it's in standard form. Right? Is it already in standard form? Well, my powers are in descending order. Right? We got 6x squared plus 48x. Perfect. Right? Next thing we want to do, we want to factor out our A. What is our A here? Well, our A is 6. So we want to factor out a 6. Right? We factor out 6. 6 divided by 6x squared leaves me with x squared. 48x divided by 6 leaves me with plus 8x. We're going to leave a blank right here on the outside. We'll leave a blank out here on the inside and one blank on the outside. Right? So we want to complete our square. Well, we want to know what's half of 8. All right, half of 8 is 4. All right, we square our 4. We're left with 16. All right, so out here, inside, I got a plus 16. But what do I have on the outside? Well, on the outside, I don't have 16. I have 6 times 16. Right? 6 times 16. So on the outside, I'm going to go 6 times 16. That leaves me with a negative or subtracting 96. Right? On the inside, I had a positive 96. On the outside, I need to put a negative 96. Remember, in here, all of these values have been factored by 6. All right? We factored 6 out of here. So essentially, I'm not putting 16 for the entire problem. I'm putting 6 times 16, all right, which gives me 96. And whatever I add to part of the problem, I need to subtract that same value as well. All right, so now we formed our perfect square trinomial. Now what we want to do is we want to write our trinomial as a binomial. All right, that's going to give me x plus 4 squared minus 96. All right, minus 96. All right, now it's already in vertex form. So now what I can do is I can write the characteristics of my parabola. My vertex is -4, -96. All right, my axis of symmetry is going to be x equals -4. All right, what I have is a vertical stretch factor of 6. I know it opens upward. So my vertex is my minimum. No, that new light came in. Try to do this for us real quick. Maybe it'll help us a little bit. Hope you guys can see that a little bit better. All right. We want to move on to our third example. All right, so our third example, all right, what we have is f of x equals 53 plus 24x plus 2x squared. Well, First step tells me what I need to do is I need to write this in standard form. All right, so I need to write it where ax squared plus bx plus c. So this right here needs to go in the front. All right, that gives me 2x squared plus 24x plus 53. Right, now step 2, I need to factor out A. I need to factor out A from my first 2 terms. Right, I want to factor out A from my first 2 terms. Alright, so I want to factor out a 2 from the 2x squared and from the 24x, which gives me plus 12x. I'm going to leave a space to complete the square. What we're adding on the inside, we're subtracting on the outside. Right, so what's half of 12? Half of 12 is 6. That's going to give me 6 squared, which is 36. So inside, I'm adding 36 on the outside. I'm going 2 times 36, which gives me a minus 72 on the outside. Minus 72 on the outside. Write my perfect square trinomial as a binomial. X plus 6 squared. On the outside, we have 53 minus 72. That gives me a negative 19. Alright, now we already have it in vertex form. So what does that mean? I can write down these characteristics. I know what my vertex is. Right, that'll be negative 6, negative 19. I know what my axis of symmetry is. That'll be x equals negative 6 because that is the x value of my vertex. We already know this vertex, it opens upward. So this means this is my minimum. And we know we have a vertical stretch. Of 2. By a factor of 2. Alright, so we know our vertex, our axis of symmetry, our vertical stretch, and our minimum. Remember, this vertex lets me know how I shift from my parent function. That's 6 units to the left, 19 units down, right? That's from my first lesson. That's from Monday, right? We need to make sure that we remember that, right? Make sure that we remember how my vertex shifts my parent function, the parent function being x squared, right? The parent function being x squared. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this, let you guys, if you couldn't see it, copy it down. I'm going to give you guys about 2 more examples to copy down. About 2 more examples to copy down, right? What I want to do is I want to do, let's go, 40x minus 5x squared minus 74. All right, remember step 1? Step 1, write it in standard form. All right, so this is my A right here. That gives me negative 5x squared first. All right, this is my B. That gives me a plus 40x. And then this is my C, which gives me minus 74. Now we got it in vertex form. What do we need to do next? Step 2, look back at your notes. Factor out A. We want to factor out A from these first 2 terms. All right, so we're going to factor out a negative 5. That gives me x squared minus 8x. Remember to check your signs. If I'm factoring out the negative 5, remember you got to factor out the negative as well, right? That means this positive now becomes a negative. On the outside, we got minus 74 minus another value, right? We'll figure out what that value is after we complete the square, right? So now we need to complete the square. What is half of 8? That's what we're trying to figure out right now. We're going to know half of my negative 8. That's negative 4. All right, then we want to square that value. We get a positive 16. So here, I get 16. Out here, I get negative 5, right? Because we need to multiply by whatever this number is, which is negative 5. We got negative 5 times the positive 16, right? And that's going to give me a negative 80. And that gives me negative 80. Well, that gives me negative 74 plus 80 out here. We want to write our trinomial as a binomial now. That's going to give me x minus 4 squared. And then lastly, we want to go ahead and write this in vertex form. Right, they give me negative 5 x minus 4 squared. And then here we have 6 plus 6. So what do we know from here? All right, we know our vertex is going to be 4, positive 6. We know our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals 4. We know our vertex, this opens downward, so this is going to be my maximum. Right, it opens downward, so that's going to be my maximum. And we know we have a vertical stretch by a factor of 5. All right, those are all the characteristics that we know. All right, we also know from our parent function it goes to the right 4 units and up 6 units. We also know that. All right, we're going to do one more example. All right, one more example, and then I'm going to give you guys your homework and let you know exactly what all needs to be turned in by the end of the week. Remember, Friday, there's not necessarily school, even though we're all working from home. There's nothing new to turn in, right? You don't have to officially work on Friday. So, with that being said, hopefully you guys are all caught up on your work. If you're not, I suggest that you take that day to catch up on some work. All right, we got negative 3x squared minus 6x plus 5. Right, it's already in standard form, so we don't have to rearrange anything. What we do need to do is factor out this negative 3 here from my first 2 terms. That's going to give me x squared minus, plus 2x. And leave a space to complete the square. On the outside, we got plus 5 minus a value when we write this in vertex form. So, half of 2 squared, they give me 1 squared, which is 1. So, in here we get 1. Negative 3 times a positive 1 gives me a negative 3. So, out here we're subtracting a negative 3. Write the trinomial and as a binomial, they give me x plus 1 squared. Out here, we have plus 8. All right, because 5 minus negative 3. Keep it, change it. All right, 5 plus 3, they give me 8. So my vertex here, negative 1, positive 8. My axis of symmetry, x is negative 1. I know it opens downward, so this is a maximum for me. We got a vertical stretch. Of 3, a factor of 3. Right, and we know that from my parent function, this moves to the left 1 unit, and then it moves up 8 units. Alright, and that's how we use completing the square when we have an a value that's greater than 1 in order to write our quadratics in vertex form. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and zoom on in this, so if you need to copy this down, go ahead and copy it down. I won't be asking you guys to graph these here. I just really want you guys to know how to write this in vertex form and then to write the characteristics. So homework. What is my homework? All right, this is what we turning in the Google Classroom. All right, what we turning in the Google Classroom, right? We turning in f of x equals 30 x plus 5 x squared, and then we turn in f of x is 21 plus 24x plus 6x squared. Those are your 2 problems for homework, right? Complete them on your own sheet of paper. Take a picture, upload it to your Google Classroom, and I will put in the grade for that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave this in the background for you, just in case you guys still need to copy it down now. All right, so listen. We got a different schedule. It's uploaded to your Google Classroom already. Make sure that you understand that you have to turn in some Edgenuity assignments and my Google Classroom assignments, right? I'm giving you guys more than enough time. I think a lot of you guys have adjusted a lot, or not a lot, but a few of you guys had done so much Edgenuity work, like you're ahead of the curve. So some of the stuff that I'm asking the other students to do in Edgenuity, you've already completed, right? So I'm giving you those grades as I'm putting them in the grade book, as I'm collecting that work. Right, but this work right here should be turned into your Google Classroom. I know a lot of y'all have been sending them to my email, which is okay because I know how to find them. It'd be a lot easier if you did the exact same thing the way you send it to me. Just go to upload, go in your phone. You can go upload file, that picture that you take, that screenshot, or whatever you need it, or whatever you have in your phone. Just go ahead and upload that to your Google Classroom. That's what I'm really I prefer you do, right? Don't send it to me in a text message, though. Preferably, do not send it to me in a text message. I'd rather you send it to me either mainly on Google Classroom, but if you're struggling with that part, I'll take it as an email. Make sure you calling. I'm calling. Make sure you calling me if you got any questions or if you have any trouble with Edgenuity or understanding the work. A lot of you guys are behind a couple of lessons. I'm going to spend a lot of today and tomorrow making sure that I reach you guys, call you guys, see if you having any problems. But a lot of y'all started off strong and now you kind of lacking. These are still grades. You still going to get a report card. You still going to get a progress report, right? We just doing it from a distance. So if you have any more questions or if you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is steven.smith@sccpss.com. All right. The phone number you can reach me at is 912-483-8985. This is your homework, right? It'll be due on Friday. Technically, you ain't got to do no work on Friday, so it really should be due tomorrow. But just make sure you get it in. That's why I'm going to be putting in my grades on Friday for you guys. All right. I don't have anything else, man. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all take care. And hopefully I'll see you guys sometime next year.